So, I'm a recent person to the northwest of England. I've just moved here with my family. I live south of Manchester, but there's this little corner of Manchester near Oxford Road Station where the buildings all look like schools or hospitals, slightly post-industrial, mixed in with weird green spaces, and hidden amongst all of these places is the Whitworth Gallery, which is absolutely stunning. From the outside, it looks like, you know when you see one of those schools where it says boys entrance and girls entrance and it's got 1907 over it, orange, big orange bricks. But when you walk inside it, it's like you've walked inside Stanley Kubrick's mind. Steel, glass, a cafe with well-balanced broccoli meals. It's stunning, confusing space, and you wouldn't expect to see it hidden in the corner of Manchester. And I've also brought with me someone I wouldn't normally take to a gallery, Auntie Christine. It's actually my wife's auntie, but she's an auntie by marriage. How you doing, Christine?
Hi, Russell.
Have you ever been to a gallery before?
No, I haven't.
I can tell exactly why Christine's never been to an art gallery. The same reason I never went to an art gallery till I was 19 years old. The same reason I never even heard of Jane Austen till I was 16. I grew up working class household. Everyone does. My mum's a cleaner. My dad was a builder. We don't talk about things like paintings. We don't talk about books. It's not part of my background. There's a whole part of society that's completely cut off from stuff like this. And no one talks about. All we talk about is gender and race and religion. We forget there's a whole people cut off by virtue of their economic background, just being normal working class people that never ever get exposed to anything like this unless someone like me takes someone like Christine and goes, look. Why it doesn't happen more in schools, I don't know. I'm guessing that's the whole reason, Christine, right? It's not that you don't like art, it's that no one's ever said to you, shall we go to an art gallery?
That's right, yes.
It's really hard for educated middle-class people to believe what I've just said is true, but believe me, still, in 2019, it's massively true. Hi, I'm writer, comedian and actor Russell Kane.
And I'm Auntie Christine.
And this is Meet Me at the Museum.
Do it again. Yeah.
3, 2, 1. And this is Meet Me at the Museum. There you go.
Look at that tree over there.
Oh, the metal tree.
The metal tree, yes. Very unusual.
I think the original tree used to be there, and they've done a metal version of the tree that was there.
Very unusual.
It's like the robot version of a tree that was once there. So, guess what else, Christine? The boss of the whole museum, Alistair, we're going to meet him. We can ask him anything we like about the museum. We can ask him why he's put a metal tree there. Poor sod's probably been watering it for a year. You know what artists are like. What do you think of this atrium? It's lovely, isn't it? Lovely and bright.
It's lovely and bright, yeah. It's very, very nice.
Must be difficult to get the flies off that glass dome, though.
Oh, no, I wouldn't like to be a window cleaner.
No. Right. I need to get into the museum. I've got my art pass. Is that going to get me in?
Well, the museum's actually free, but your art pass will give you 10% off in the shop, in the gift shop.
I knew I needed a decorative chopping board and a pepper shaker shaped like a breast. Now I'm going to get it for 10% less.
Tally-ho.
Right, so Christine, I brought you to the Whitworth. I was allowed to bring anyone I liked to the Whitworth, anyone I knew. I could have brought someone from the TV, someone from family, but I just thought you'd be the best person to bring because I want to see someone just come into a gallery almost for the first time in their lives. It's just something you never do. So I think you get a better reaction from someone that says, well, art galleries aren't for me to take you around this wonderful building and show you things and just to see what hilarious, profound, interesting, unexpected things come out of your mouth. So that's why I've chosen you. What do you think? Yeah, good.
Yes.
For the benefit of listeners, she's doing wide eyes and strange faces. I wish you could see them. And I've got some good things lined up. So we're not just going to look at paintings of naked cherubs firing arrows at gods, which is what you would expect at a gallery. We're going to look at an exhibition, which is all artefacts, things found in the ground of an old nightclub that was torn down in Moss Side called the Reno, which played soul music. Did you ever go dancing at the Reno?
No, I didn't go there. No.
But you heard of it?
I heard of it, yeah.
Right, so it's this sort of underground.
Because I live in Stretford.
I know, Stretford. Cuttable, thank you. And no, so that I just thought it would really appeal to. We're both nosy, yeah. I nosy on everyone's life, but we can go through all the old stuff and see the drinks they had and all the stuff they touched.
It's very nice.
It would really appeal to you. It's the history. It's about the age you were when you were clubbing.
I can't wait.
We're going through a massive room now. It's really high, like double high ceilings. Like, let's call it 8 working class dining rooms stacked on top of each other.
It's lovely.
And the wallpaper reminds me of something, you know, like you would have had in the 1960s on the wall.
50s, 60s.
Yeah, 50s, 60s. Mm-hmm. It's orange. What is it, like
it's
a trapezius shape?
3 different types of shades of orange.
It's quite trippy, this wall, because it plays with your depth perception. And each colour of orange is like a tanning chart in an Essex salon. Yeah. I personally would go for the one on the left if I was going to fake a tan on the first day of a holiday to Ibiza.
Yes, I would. Mm-hmm.
Ironically, when I was in Ibiza, if I looked at that, I would immediately vomit. So Christine, Alistair, the governor of the whole gallery, is going to take us through to an exhibition that isn't even...
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, he's there.
Nice to meet you, Auntie.
I was trying to create a bit of tension. We now know that Alistair's next to us, so he spoiled that. Anyway, he's going to take us through to an exhibition that isn't even finished being installed to show us something in there that's his favourite item in the whole place at the moment. So we
lovely.
get a little pre-look.
I'm Alistair Hudson, and I'm the director of the Whitworth and Manchester Art Gallery.
Our first impressions are it's just quite an unusual corner of Manchester in itself. It's quite London-y, the buildings. They all look. Every building looks like it was once a separate sex school or a hospital.
Yeah.
There's those sort of scary orange brick that Victorians used to
Welcome to Victorian Britain.
Yeah. Mr. Rochester would have brought someone here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Was the orange bit at the front? Is that purpose built?
Yeah.
So it was one of the few that is.
It was built at the turn of the century as an art gallery, but actually was originally made as the Whitworth Institute and Park.
Right.
And Mr. Whitworth was basically the go-to engineer craftsperson of the 19th century. So he invented things like the Whitworth screw. So if you go by any screw or bolt now, it's BSW, British Standard Whitworth. So he made all his money from nuts and bolts and screws. He developed super flatness. So if you wanted something making it was really flat...
Just come to one of my gigs, he would have loved those.
Yeah. And he invented the Whitworth rifle as well, which was the weapon of choice in the American Civil War.
Oh, well, there's a link there to me, because I grew up on the borders of Essex and London in a place called Enfield, and of course that's where it's all turned into houses now, but there's one of the most famous rifles ever made in this country was the Enfield rifle.
Yeah.
So I lived right near the rifle works.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
so Mr. Whitworth made all his money doing that. Oh, and he actually made Charles Babbage's first computer. He was the guy that actually got his penknife out and crafted it all from...
So the things you're describing are quite sort of hands-on tradesman-y type things. Was he a working class man rather than a sort of poncy,
exactly. But
type?
In a way, that was the spirit of Manchester in the 19th century, right? So what they decided was, as Manchester was growing and becoming the world's super capital of makers, the city of making, they needed an art gallery to show people what good art and design looked like so they would make better stuff.
Right.
And at the same time, by having an art gallery and a park, because it was the Whitworth Institute and Park, the idea was that you would basically provide the environment to make healthier people that were healthier in the brain and healthier in the heart as well and body.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so it was really kind of Victorian philanthropists trying to make the world a better place. Yeah. And that's why this place was built.
A lovely building, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Christine and I were stood in the gardens earlier, and we were pondering how strange it is that, I got all the way almost to 20 years old without anyone talking to me about art and art galleries. It's never been in your life before.
No.
What's going wrong with galleries and museums? Why are they still not connecting with younger people coming through our comprehensive system where I'm from? Some areas around here have an 11 plus, but you could argue that makes things worse. People are being lost. Art's just not touching them. It's not part of their life. It's not something you would choose to do. It's not on the menu of things you might select. What's going on? What could be done different? What's the Whitworth doing? Yeah.
Well, that's everything I'm interested in, basically, because I've only been here a year as well. I'm a bit like the new kid who's come in with a new mission to change exactly what you said. And I think for a long time we've told the wrong stories about art in schools and in society. We say it's this, well, also that it's these precious objects that sit in a museum or an art gallery, and somehow you have to go into the museum and you have to be told how to understand this thing that's quite mysterious, and then you're supposedly to be, a better person for seeing it and then wander off all happy. Whereas actually, there's a kind of longer story of art as being this kind of tool, this kind of thing we do, this process to change the world. So we might think about cooking as being art, or gardening as much as we do other things. And the history of this place, as I said, was about that idea that you experience art and learn how to make things and learn how to make things together. And through that process of making stuff, you learn how to change the world.
Have you ever done anything like that, Christine? Because
I used to draw.
did you?
Yeah.
What did you like to draw?
Cartoons. Yeah, the Flintstones and Scooby-Doo. As a child, I used to draw. So I used to have a look at a book my mum used to buy me, and then I used to just draw the Flintstones or somebody like Scooby-Doo.
So you could copy it, you could see a cartoon and copy it.
I could copy it,
and
yeah.
it was so good that Yvonne, my mother-in-law, used to accuse you of tracing it.
That's right, yeah. And then I used to colour it all in, very therapeutic.
And now, if me and Lindsay move, or if we do a house, you're the first one in there in your apron, up a bloody stepladder, painting everything.
Yeah, so I paint doors and fences. I enjoy doing that.
And it's some very
All the trees.
an artistic expression. When you painted a fence, there was a tree in the way, so you painted the tree, but the exact height of the fence, the same colour.
That's right, yeah. Because I got a little bit on the tree and I thought,
Might as well fill it in.
I might as well do it all. So I did.
I've still got half a painted
So
tree.
the family were really tickled by this,
You get satisfaction from just colouring a space in.
And I'm going to have a lot to do, aren't I, in the next few weeks.
Oh yeah, you're moving house, you'll be in your element.
Moving house, yeah.
Why don't you just put a giant Flintstone on the living room wall? I'll show everyone.
I was kind of bang on about art being useful, because it is actually really useful, but we don't necessarily say that in school.
Yeah.
We talk about it as being, just thinking about it on its own terms. Yeah. But actually, if you think about the processes when you're being creative, it's about problem solving. Yeah. And so actually we do a lot of stuff with the NHS, for example, and they use art in therapy, in training doctors, basically. We work with the medical school to give art classes to doctors, and it's been proven that they have better diagnostic skills having studied art than if they don't.
Bloody hell. How about that?
Well, you never.
I wonder if that works with everyone. Get some fuzzy felt to traffic wardens, stop them being arseholes.
Yeah. I'm just going to open this door and I'm going to take you into the main galleries where we're currently installing our exhibition that's called A Joy Forever. And it's all about how our ancestors in the Victorian age tried to change the world through art, and including a guy called Thomas Horsfall, who set up one of the first art museums in Manchester to show basically the poor, undernourished children of Ancoats who were kind of in the filthy mills how to experience art and to use it in their lives. And he even took all the kids from Ancoats on a march to London to campaign for every school child to have a right to an art education.
Bloody fantastic.
And that was in the end of the 19th century, so it's still relevant today.
Yeah, I'd like to feel like we were, but I would love to be laughing at that. As it sounded like such a ridiculous thing and we'd come so far. But really, I could imagine doing the same in a food bank today, depressingly. We've still got so far to go.
Yeah, it's rather depressing how circular all these things are. So here we are in front of Ethics of Dust, which is by Jorge Otero Palos, who's an artist who basically took these latex casts off the east wall of the Palace of Westminster. So this is a technique that's used in conservation to clean stone buildings. So what you have here is a sheet of latex that's come off the wall and taken with it 1,000 years of dust, basically, from the Palace of Westminster.
So what they've done, so if we went against the side of your house and put a sheet of latex on it, all the dirt that comes away with it, you remember like a negative from a photo?
Yeah.
That's what this is, the Palace of Westminster, but in dirt. So that's the filth and dust on the outside of Westminster, which has come away with the latex print. And it's just sort of kept, this is 1,000 years of dust.
Yeah, but I think dust isn't it 70% human skin or something really horrible like that? So technically, that's 1,000 years of politicians stuck to that bit of latex.
If he'd have waited a year, he would have got most of Theresa May because she's being flayed alive at the moment. just the whole of Theresa May attached at the edge of it as she tries to negotiate
We
Brexit.
can still do that. We can send her an invitation now.
Attached to a bit of latex at the end. See, now if Tracy Emin or someone like that had done it, you would just have a whole Theresa May stuck on at the end like that. It's the skin of some right tyrants there. So, Alistair, thanks very much for giving us a sneak peek at Joy Forever, which will be up till, I believe, June the 6th. Do you know what I think we should do now, Christine? I think we should head to the Reno for some dancing. How do we get there?
Follow the disco noises. No, if you go upstairs,
Yep.
past the Wallpaper exhibition,
Yep.
and then you'll see, a large room, and hopefully you will find Linda Brogan in there, who's one of the key players behind the Reno project.
We're excited to see this one because this goes back to when you would have been clubbing yourself.
Let's go and boogie then.
So, Auntie Christine, what we do in our leisure time mostly, we're either eating, drinking, or game playing. We are a
Yes.
heavy board game user family.
Yes, we are.
We have several times got to the point where we can't breathe. There have been certain incidents where you've had to adjourn to other rooms, where
Yes.
you've lost control of your body parts.
That's right.
One of the most memorable moments was where you lined my dining room chair with a carrier bag. So,
2 carrier bags.
so unsure were you that we would make it safely through a game of Articulate.
Yeah.
And it was during that game of Articulate, Christine, do you remember? It's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. I mean, I write funny things for a living, but this made me laugh more than anything I've ever heard. So for people that don't know what Articulate is, let me just describe it. You get a word on a card, it could be cat, and you just have to describe it without using the word cat. So I would say, it meows, it's got a tail, and you would say,
Cats.
brilliant. I wasn't expecting that to work. That's how wrong Articulate normally goes. And I got this one word. It was bustard, which is a type of turkey. B-U-S-T-A-R-T. It's a type of turkey. And how am I going to get Christine to guess that? So I went, it's like what you used to call your ex-husband Barry, to which she quickly said, bastard.
Bastard.
And I went, yes, but with a U. And you said, you bastard.
Oh, you bastard. That's right, yeah. It
And it's
all
the-
comes back to me
It's
now.
the most I've ever laughed, I think, on Christmas Day. We're on our way to Reno, but there's this wonderful room that's just got all different wallpaper. Oh, and the one art that Christine mentioned she liked drawing was the Flintstones, and I sort of laughed dismissively. But lo and
Yeah.
behold, on the wall of the Whitworth, what have we found?
Yes, the Flintstones. And I used to draw pictures of these. But it's funny seeing it here, in the art exhibition. There's Thelma, Wilma, Fred, Barney and Betty.
That's Bam Bam, the baby.
Bam Bam, the baby, yeah.
That's so weird. Like, on the wall of the Whitworth is something you used to draw.
Yes,
Crazy. I did not expect that to happen today. I can't say that.
a lovely, colourful picture,
This is what kids' wallpapers were like back in the day, weren't they,
Yes,
Christine?
Yes, yeah.
Behind us, we've seen some wonderful Mickey Mouse, and also there's the cowboy one over there.
Yes, what a little boy would have on the wall.
Have you seen this wallpaper, Christine? It's really... did you actually see that
I
one?
saw it, yes.
What the hell is that? It just says Robert Gober, hand...
It is disturbing, isn't it?
Really disturbing. So it's a man who looks like he's asleep with a sort of furrowed, concentrating expression on his face. You could call it angry. And it repeats with a pattern, quite big, the pattern, the size of my hand, of a silhouette of a man hanging from a tree. The implication being he's either dreaming about killing himself, or he's so disturbed when he's sleeping he has taken his own life. At the point we're talking about this, there's been a lot of news stories this week. There's been male suicides really in the news. So I don't think you'd want it as wallpaper, but as a comment of... Do you know what I think it is, Christine? Like, particularly, there was a piano in the background. Naturally, there is one at the Whitworth. Someone did a drive-by C minor at us. Particularly men of your generation, but it's not improved much. That is men, don't they? They don't talk about stuff. They lie there brooding, and then they do something you weren't expecting. I'm not saying men are going to kill themselves, or they run off with someone else, or they empty the savings account, or they run off with another woman.
Yes.
But that is most women's experience of men, is the silent brooding followed by a sudden reaction you weren't expecting. The key thing that goes wrong with blokes is women love talking about problems even when there's no solution. I know, I'm from a family of people that gather around the table and speak for 3 hours about something that can't be changed, but they'd love speaking about it for 3 hours anyway. Lit an aromatherapy candle, talked to Christine about it, it felt better. Whereas men, if it can't be changed, what's the point in talking about it? If it can't open Haynes' manual and see the solution, what's the point in discussing it? Not realising that is a poisonous thing to do. and that talking itself is very, very therapeutic. So that was my theory. So I got the idea to create a program, a podcast, where men are forced to talk about the things men wouldn't normally talk about. It's really varied. It could be height, it could be cheating, it could be porn, it could be depression, some of them funny, some of them not so funny, but always using humour to engage men. Surprise audience has been women who want nothing more than to listen in at the door about what men really think. And we always have a girl on the panel as well, a woman on the panel, just in case we stray into, well, you know what women think. She's called the lady auditor. So that's what Boys Don't Cry is, isn't it? A bit more with banter, a bit more risky, a bit more with edge, but still tackling the big things that bother blokes.
I've not seen anything like this before. And look at that one over there. That's Bullies.
What is it?
The Bullies. Have a read of the thing.
It's a hand screen printed wallpaper called Bullies. So you can interpret that any way you want. You could see it as these...
Are these bullies?
Well, it's like a trippy fluorescent
Very,
pattern.
very bright photograph, yes.
And the kids in the pictures, maybe you're giving them a bright pattern as though to say, at school you were invisible, but here you shine. I don't know if I'm overreaching.
Or pointing the bullies out.
Yeah. It could be these could be the bullies. We have a stereotypical idea of what a bully is, but it's not always the pretty kid or the hard kid, is it? Yeah, if he is a bully, he's a dashing one, that one with the long blonde hair, isn't he? Yeah. Goes surfing and then a bit of bullying afterwards. Finally, we're at the Reno Exhibition, Christine. It's just through there. Let's walk in. These are all our unearthed artefacts from the torn down nightclub in the 1970s. We thought they were lost forever, but they excavated the earth and they found all these interesting objects. The Reno moss side. Well, the first thing we're seeing is a video of a patch of mud, which is obviously where the nightclub used to stand. And right underneath it is a glass case with what's left of what must have been one of the fireplaces, some pokers, and look, some dominoes and dice. There's like 2 dominoes.
The old kind of fire.
The coals are still in the grate from like the final fire that burned before it closed. That's pretty poignant, isn't it?
There's a big table here with all old photographs of the club. We're going to have a look at them now.
This is the excavation. This must have been at the point where they decided, let's dig up and see what we find. So these are all the people digging it up. You just wouldn't expect to find anything, would you, after all these years?
No.
Empty purses. Right, there's some old wallets, Christine. Look at that.
Oh, look at that. So the people would have took the wallet on that night.
And it's just got lost and it's been in the mud all that time.
Lost. Oh, and an old crisp packet.
Oh, Smith's Crisp. Do you remember?
Smith's Crisp, yeah.
When they stopped
I
making
remember those, and you had a little tiny bag of salts.
And you had to shake your own salt.
And shake it, yeah.
You probably could have done it in time to the music while you were dancing to the fall.
Shaking back. And
that was hoovering, but yeah.
And then the old Coke tins. And what's that?
Ginger beer.
Oh, the ginger beer, yeah.
Imagine how many drinks were out of that glass there.
And probably lipstick marks, you know. And this is what they found.
Would you have a gin and tizer? Was that a drink back in the day?
Well, do you know what you used to have? You used to have a cherry bee, a little tiny bottle. And you could get drunk on cherry bee, believe it or not. And baby sham. Cherry bee was just a little bottle.
Of a cherry drink? Would you go out dancing drunk on cherry bee?
You could do, honest to God, yeah.
Where did you go out clubbing?
Well, I used to go...
I know you got married very, very young, so there's only a small window for you going out and partying, but where did you go?
We used to go to a place called Brown's in Stretford. All Motown soul music. It was lovely. And then they used to do a barn dance, so everybody was all dancing during a barn dance. And then a rich rhythm, it was called. And all 60s music. And you can't beat 60s music now. That is my era, you know. They're with the days, you know.
We're going to go over now and see Linda Brogan, who's the lady that's actually behind this excavation and driven the energy to make all this stuff be seen. And there's a lot of conversations around this exhibition around race and class as well. And there's another aspect we haven't talked about yet. I'm sure we will.
Oh, there she is, there.
Yes. So I'm going to chat to her. So, Linda, I'm going to ask you to show us around some of your favourite bits. What's some of the favourite things you pulled out of the mud?
Oh, come on then. flares, a pair of green flares.
pair
This
of
is
green
on the
flares?
first day.
First day. Who left without their trousers from the
Well,
ring?
yeah. No, exactly.
Is that part of it, or is that?
Yeah, no, that's part of it.
That's a beer crate.
Yeah, because when we'd go in, you'd go down the stairs, turn left, and the first place you go is the toilet, but opposite the toilet was always a stack of Lee's yellow crates.
So at some point, someone left the Reno in, let's be
Without
optimistic,
trousers.
their underwear. But I'm starting to not be optimistic about the underwear at this stage. I'd love to know the story behind those. Are they men's or women's garments?
Women's, look, the buttons are on that side. And you won't get a guy that thin either, really.
Well, you're talking to the wrong man. I'm like a pepperami with hair on, and I'd wear those.
You can lend them after.
So I think what both me and Christine were wondering is, how did the idea occur to you to dig out an old nightclub and get bottles of Tizer and make? I mean, it's utterly brilliant, but how did the thought occur to you?
Because it was under there.
But is it like, because even now, I know Christine and me are different ages, but even now, if I hear a tune, so for example, I was a little bit into drum and bass scene and the stuff that came out of the early 90s and all that, I get like a nostalgia feeling, like remembering being on the dance floor, like trying to recapture that emotion.
No, you get a tingle, don't you?
I'm wondering how much of that was driving you to dig up the mud and get the objects back. And you're like, oh, it's about the history and I want to tell my story, but it's a little bit like, I want to remember what it's like
No, well, what
to be
I get
drinking
back
Bacardi.
No, well, what I go back there. Do you know, like when I put certain tunes on, like last night, I was playing tunes in the Facebook group to get people in the mood to come, and I just want to go there. It's like, oh, I want to go there now.
So this club was actually in the 70s, and it came out of that sort of Motown into soul and funk and that sort of that type of music.
Stevie went to Reno's, if you want to involve. Yeah.
So there's some, just for the benefit of the listeners, there's another gentleman joined us at the tables.
Hello, hi. My name is Stephen Cossier. I'm one of the Reno 12.
When you say the Reno 12, it sounds like something Quentin Tarantino's dreamt up.
That's exactly what it's supposed to sound like. Right, when we excavated the Reno, right, and we was going to come into the residency at the Whitworth, the Reno 12 are the people who was most loyal to the excavation, so those that turned up every day. Stevie's got something to say, go on.
Like you were saying, how the atmosphere, this atmosphere in the Reno, it was like people used to get dressed up, proper dressed up. Dead smart, men, women, just for the week, to come in there. Like you had a woman called Diane, dressed up to the eyeballs, never went anywhere else, just went in there with a Billie Holiday, a Billie Holiday flower in her hair. And I used to call her, that's our Billie Holiday. And like you say, the dance floor was full all the time, during that weekend.
Do you think we lost something there, Christine? Because like my generation, when we went clubbing, basically wearing what I'm wearing today, T-shirt, jeans, scruffy as possible. So very often we come out at 7 a.m, not even with a top on. I would have lost my T-shirt, and then I'd get in trouble with having to hide my eyes from my mum, because by then my mum's up at 7 a.m, with a cup of tea, doing what I used to call her eyeball Poirot, because she'd be like, "What is in your eyes?" Whereas back in the late 60s and early 70s, it was about really dressing up for like smart, like I would for a red carpet. Did you used to dress up dead smart?
Yes, I did, yeah. And I used to go to Brown's,
Was you a pencil skirt girl?
Yes, yeah.
Did you wear a pencil skirt? Did you? What would you have worn?
When I was slimmer, yeah.
She was saying she was drinking Cherry B was her drink. I never heard of it.
Cherry B was really strong. Honest to God, because it tasted like pop, didn't it? So you'd neck it, and the next you'd be like cross-eyed. And barley wine. Do you remember barley wine, the little barley wine?
It was very strong. Well, it still is, isn't it, now?
So, obviously there's loads of them. Manchester has a massive reputation for brilliant nightclubs. Hacienda is the one that my generation always dreamed of going. I never made it up here. What's so special about the Reno? Why is it so important we remember it? What does it symbolise?
It's not important to use lot to remember it. It's important to us to remember it. It was like going to Goodfellas. Do you know what I mean? It was like a one-off. It had a quintessential black door. Do you know what I mean? Like so, and you either knew about it or you didn't know about it.
There was a lot of mixed race people going down there, where we could identify with each other. Because we used to get, I can't swear, but we used to get badness off the white people, and we used to get badness off the West Indian people. So when we was like, whoa, what's going on here? And then when that was opening, we went down there, and it was just wall to wall half caste but mixed race, you know.
I remember myself as half caste because that's what I was. It was about reclaiming my identity. It was a club that we colonised. You know, it didn't start off full of mixed race people. It started off just as a club in Moss Side. And then they used to play reggae and then Persian. And then we know that loads of mixed or half caste people, as I say, was in there. So then you'd be going past for months and months and years thinking, oh, it's a bit dodgy in there, it's a bit too cool for me, do you know, whatever. Do you know, and then you'd just you'd go down and then you'd never leave for 6 years or till you had your baby. And then you can't go till 3 days after you've had your baby. Do you know, for the next 6 years. You know, like it's, yeah. I was down there the night before I gave birth. Because it was Christmas time, and what am I going to miss? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Was there a little star hovering above the club?
It was
followed
really
the star
snowing
to the club.
like that, yeah.
We've got a stable you can stay in.
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God. It's funny how these themes repeat because the language changes and the groups change, but the shape of the journey doesn't change because I come from a council estate.
Yeah.
We couldn't go up the West End to all these posh clubs, but all
exactly.
the working class kids of all colours, by the time we got to my generation, rave and drum and bass and that scene, we all came together on the dance floor. So we thought we had this secret that our
Yeah, but you do.
segregated elders didn't have. I come from Tottenham, North London. You know, there was the area where black people live, the area where white people live. But come the weekend, we're all hugging on the dance floor, dancing to drum and bass. And that was our thing. That was our secret. That's where I lived for 5 years.
But that's exactly what it was. And then one day, another whole other story, I was sat on the grass of the Reno in about 2015, and it was demolished in 87, and the grass was covered in poppies. And I thought, oh, it's under there. It's, you know, like it was calling me.
Of all the flowers as
Of
well.
all the flowers.
And the symbolism
and I've
of
never
the
seen
poppies
them
without
before
remembering,
there.
isn't it?
Let's just go and see the memoirs on the big massive tele. Look, it's wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, so these are people remembering and reminiscing and having the emotions when they think about back in the day what it was like at the Reno, right?
I excavated the Reno in October 2017, but in 2016 I started getting people's memoirs. So that was, yeah. So, oh, you'd love him, yeah.
So we're seeing a guy now, okay, he might be more advanced in years, but he's still tightly coiled like a spring, immaculately turned out, beautifully groomed beard, amazing sort of Pharrell-style hat. He looks like he could bounce out of the chair at any moment, very alert eyes. He looks like he's aged well, him.
Yeah.
So there's a few people that we used to challenge each other to dancing, and my mates, if I were in the mood or whatever, they'd say, come on, Fons, fucking get up there, and then they'd say, but make sure you do a backflip, because I was quite famous around the city for my backflips.
Fonzo Buller. Yeah, and it wasn't a night in the Reno without Fonzo. You know, those people that bring the energy, you know, do backflips, bang on the table when it's a top tune, you know, whistle and all that, you know, hype it up. What the Reno was full of was people that should have been stars and artists and things, do you know what I mean? But it's 1970s, we're all working class with the wrong colour and everything. So that's our theatre. The Reno is our theatre. So when we go down, we're putting on a display. So we're the audience and the actors. And it was our place. Like you said before, secret. It's like our secret.
The mums and dads didn't... What did the mums and dads think about it?
Don't go to the Reno, I'll kill you. Yeah, you'll end up this, that and the other. And we probably did end up this, that and the other as well.
And that was the best bit of it, was the other.
Exactly.
The other is the flares we saw over there.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Linda, thanks so much for taking us around this amazing exhibition, and congratulations on coming up with the idea to dig up an old nightclub you went to and turn it into art.
Oh, thank you, man.
It's been amazing, hasn't it, Christine? Have you brought up lots of memories for you?
Yes, it has.
I think you want to go and get off your face some Cherry B now, don't you? As long as you keep your trousers on, Christine. We don't need any more muddy trousers in the grounds of the Whitworth, thank you. So, Christine, have you enjoyed today?
I've enjoyed it very much.
And what did you think of that Reno exhibition? Did it blow your mind?
Yes, it did, yeah. And Linda was very nice, wasn't she? Reminiscing.
Any old buildings that are gone that you'd like to dig up? Anywhere you used to go? Are there any dance halls or shops or anything that's disappeared?
Oh, the Browns where I used to go, that's disappeared.
So that might be under the ground. We could excavate Browns. I wonder what we'd find.
There's houses there now.
A few Cherry B bottles by the sound of it. So, Christine, given that we're armed with art passes, which give us 10% off in the gift shop, I don't think we're going straight out the gallery, do you?
No.
I think we should go and see if
I
there's
need to have a look. There's always something you want to buy.
there might be some of that Flintstones wallpaper in there. You never
Well,
know.
you never know.
Thanks for listening to me, Russell Kane, and my auntie Christine at the Whitworth here in Manchester. Bye for now.
Bye for now. Is that right?
It's great.
If you like this episode of the podcast, please rate, subscribe, or tell a friend. You could tell Beryl about it.
Oh, yes, and Helen. Mm-hmm.